Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Saturday Morning Mastermind. I'm your host, Samantha Studebaker Carl. I'm here with my good friends Dan and Angel and Catherine and Jason. And today we're going to continue our discussion of the book Love, Life, God by Jared Hewitt. We are in chapter 13 on page 186. But before we get going reading that, I'm going to give my friends an opportunity to introduce themselves. And for those of you who are watching, if you would like to participate, we would love to have you on here. I just posted a link in the comment section there below the video on in our Facebook group on the live stream. You can just click that link and jump right in here into our Zoom meeting and be a part of the conversation. All right, guys, go ahead, jump out, and then we will get going on this conversation or reading the book.
Angel Studebaker down here in South Carolina.
Dan Sisek in Las Vegas, Nevada.
It's Catherine Clement here.
All right, guys. So chapter 13, page 186. Catherine, you've been doing such a great job reading. You want to read this morning again?
Okay. Let me see where we ended. Well, I'll just start at the top of the page. Your creation will never end, just as your world will never end. Sure, there are books and religious texts that seem to imply a cataclysmic ending, but it's like the lyrics to Closing Time. Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end, huh? Yes, look at what's going on currently in America. Everyone thinks the sky is falling. And guess what? As you believe, so shall it be. The media mirrors back to you the social consciousness. The social consciousness then acts accordingly. The media then reports on this new downturn, and the cycle continues ever downward. The only question you really have to ask yourself is, what do you want? Look at it this way. And we are speaking to everyone who is reading these words or hearing them right now, because your energy is okay. Look at it this way, and we are speaking to everyone who is reading these words right now, because your energy is just as much a part of this experience as any other. How do you qualify your energy? What do you focus on? You can't be drawn in anywhere because you are the only presence acting everywhere. You create your world, not the banks with the hedge funds, not Wall Street with their junk bonds, not the media. Love the people who are choosing to experience separation right now, but do not dwell there with them. Heal whatever poses the illusion of being broken within yourself. For if you are in reaction to a situation, your energy is still dancing in the drama. And Jared says, can you go over that one more time? Like, if someone does something that pisses me off, you're saying that I'm a co-creator of whatever that is? Yes. Again, this is not about judgment or blame or any of those beliefs. It's simply about moving out of a polarizing energy. Consciousness is moving into and beyond what we have previously called convergent energy. We'll discuss this in a moment, but we would like for you to simply see that anytime a reaction is present, there is a certain kind of energy behind that reaction. It's not wrong or right to have or not have a reaction, but if you stay plugged in, for example, you say you want justice and equality for all minorities. There is a slight but critical difference between creating an experience wherein everyone is equal and a situation wherein you seek out injustice. It's not wrong to want to right an injustice. However, by seeking out injustice, you will perpetuate the energy that creates injustice. And Jared says, okay, you just gave me another one of those say what explanations that people are going to keep asking me about. And Source says, well, that fear should tell you right there that you still carry what you would term an unbalanced charge around the concept of justice and even self-creation itself. Wow. So it really is that simple. If I knew with 100% of my being that everyone creates their own world, that question would not bother me. You wouldn't even be asked it, we would imagine. Many people questioning you won't accept this answer anyway, and your doubt is a weakness they exploit to make them right. And we know that to you, this looks like a very severe statement, and it only looks that way because of the stories you're carrying around and the perceptions those stories shade, maintain, and even help create. You see, when you truly know peace, peace is all that surrounds you. When you truly know you create, the energy of your creation is all that surrounds you. It's not a scary thing at all. In fact, it should be quite liberating. Jared says, this kind of scares me. They say, you know the drill. He says, I claim self-love. Well, also feel what it really feels like to love with no condition. Feel it. Feel what it is like to be totally free. And free in the sense that you are in love with everyone and everything, and that love is mirrored back to you at all times, in all ways. That is what self-love is. Now, you may from time to time come across an experience that you may wish to change, and all you have to do is change it. Don't judge it, don't go into reaction, don't fight with it, for all of those approaches only serve to create resistance or something to push against, and you're really only ever pushing against you. Now, at this time, there are still a lot of people choosing to push against themselves. There are a lot of people choosing to clash and choosing to experience limitation. These people are in bondage to their conditioned thoughts and beliefs because they have chosen to be. If it is their desire to awaken to some other knowingness, they will do so. The choice is theirs, and it is neither right nor wrong. It is merely their creation, but it does not have to be yours. Simply know that you are the creator of your world. If you find yourself in reaction to something, there is an inner reason. This inner reason is the same thing that caused it to show up in your life in the first place. As above, so below. Indeed, the outer is a reflection of the inner, always, whether you are consciously aware of it or not. That's why we say, just let go, claim self-love, and let go of all your stories, especially judgments. Okay, well, I think I'm moving through that one. Do we want to pause here or continue?
Sure, we can pause for a minute. Oh, Karen's trying to-
Okay.
Yeah, I think this is a good, it's hard to look at the world and think that all the stuff that's showing up that we don't like is a creation of our own in some way. And that's a struggle. But when I was reading the book Zero Limits by Joe Vitale years ago, he discussed this kind of method called Ho'oponopono, which is basically just whatever shows up in your life, send love to it, and don't, like they're saying in here, don't judge it, don't resist it, don't whatever, just send love to it, as if it is, you've created it, you've somehow in some way, because you're experiencing it, you are participating in it, and that participation is the way that you are helping to create it. And that's basically what he's saying. And by sending love to that, as you're allowing the experience to kind of go through you without affecting you, and that can be a difficult thing, to just sit here and look at those things and go, okay, I'm just going to send it self-love and hopefully it's all going to resolve itself. That could be a struggle, particularly if you see some injustice or what you feel like is injustice in the world very close to you and you want to do something about it. But I feel like there's been so many teachers that have said basically the same thing. Of, like, there was another one years ago, and her method of helping you kind of clear things in your life that are causing you discomfort or pain or frustration or anger or whatever, her whole thing was just to whatever it is just say, you know, this thing comes up is just say, what was hers was, delete, destroy, destory across all time, time, space, dimensions, and realities. And so every time something would come up, she's just use this statement and say that out to the thing that you're feeling resistance to. And then of course the, you know, the Ho'oponopono is just saying love. This book is saying to say, you know, oh well, the Ho'oponopono was I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. That was their statement. And then of course in this book it's you know, I am self-love. And I'm reminded of what was another thing, a while back, it's been a few years ago, we were doing a exercise that was called tapping, like when you tap on pressure points, and you're basically whatever's coming up in resistance is then you're tapping on these pressure points and you're saying the thing that is you know, is bothering you, that you're trying to let go and release this energy connected to it. I feel like all of these different methods are trying to tell us the same thing, is that, you know, whatever is coming up in your world as resistance, is that we've got to let go of that resistance. We've got to let go of our discomfort and our reactions, if you will, and just allow whatever those things are to just kind of pass on by and not be triggered by them, if you will. And when we can do that, then we're not participating in the illusion, like what they're talking about. You know, it's like years ago when I realized how much my husband and I were kind of, you know, butting heads, if you will. I guess that's a light way of putting it, when you're struggling with having arguments with each other. And when I was able to allow him to just say his piece without me reacting to it, then it dissolved like magic. You know, I mean, normally you get into an argument with somebody, or you get into a disagreement, and then you are butting heads, and then you're both resisting, and you're both being triggered by the things that you say. And when you can let that go, then that whole discomfort between the two of you, it dissolves. And I feel like that for me is kind of one of the biggest things that I can recognize in my life, and I can experience, you know, like quickly, to see how this whole thing kind of works. So good morning, Karen. Glad to see you jumped on.
Good morning. Yesterday I was thanking you, Samantha, for last week sharing that you had realized, I can't remember what the things that you were thinking over and over, but I think it had to do with your trucking business and being concerned that things might stop going well. And what I picked up out of that was I had been going around for months saying how tired I was, how I couldn't believe how tired I was. I just slept all the time. And of course, I'm in a place where there's other people who are saying the same things. And, there was just lots of support for that. And I realized I was probably doing it to myself. And things have been considerably better since I have figured out some other things, more positive to say than to remind myself, yes, thank you. Another thing happened yesterday. They moved me back to my original room. Hopefully I'll get back to the other one in about 3 or 4 weeks, but my shower chair had not come with me, and they had told me that, it would be there the day that I moved. And of course I knew, from experience that probably things wouldn't get done as they had said and as I'd hoped that they would, but I knew that with the weekend coming up, it could possibly happen that I wouldn't be showering until next week, because I've learned that it's just not safe with my one knee in particular, to stand the amount of time that it takes to shower. And I kept thinking, well, it should work out, blah, blah, blah. And finally I thought, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and bite the bullet and call the concierge and, just let them know that I won't be showering till next week unless I see my shower chair, and I'm not sure what to do about it. What would they recommend? And I saw it within the hour, and I thought, sometimes when we think about being our own creator, we need to actually be our own creator. And, I had not been willing to do that because, I don't know if you're aware, but, workers are pretty thin across the country. They'd rather stay home and take disability, or take unemployment or whatever. And so, the complainers amongst us are going to have further concerns. And I really didn't want to do that. And I thought, that's just not taking responsibility for being a creator. And I am a creator. I figured that out. Also, Catherine will be glad to know that I have my Loving What Is, Byron Katie's book from 15 years ago, that has flags totally throughout, underlines completely on every page, stickers. I mean, it's probably the most marked up book that you can find in my stack. And but I also found a book I'd gotten for $1 somewhere, obviously at a garage sale, of Byron Katie's that was $1,000 something for Joy. And her husband writes the foreword to that and says that for her, reality is God. And if we think about ourselves, understanding now that we are God, the reality we create is us. And I just think, I loved it, Samantha, that you went through all these things that you remembered having picked up out of different books and so forth. He had kind of written a modern day, and I'm talking about Byron Katie's husband now, a modern day version of the Tao Te Ching. He loved that book, and he picked out certain passages and wrote, kind of a modern version of it. I haven't seen it. I'm not sure how he did that, but there really is a lot of support. You were saying last week, Samantha, that, or maybe it was Catherine saying that it's hard to know how many people are reading things like we are and talking about them, and I think that's key, that we're talking about them. And you listeners, if there are any out there, and I we have, there's this light thing that looks like I'm going to be irradiated here. There's people, okay, the fact that we're discussing it and sharing our ideas, and I'm picking up this thing from last week from Samantha about the trucking and changing the thinking and not telling herself over and over the negative thing, but changing that, just changing that, just making a little phrase out of it that's more positive. This is such a powerful thing, and I really appreciate it. You can tell that I could be dead and gone next week, and you'll still know that I'm really in love with this group and appreciate it very much, and recommend it to everyone. And we need more of you to come on. How come we don't have a new face on here? Somebody could surely join us next Saturday that we haven't seen before. Make it a challenge. One of you out there, make it a challenge to be on with us next week. You can stick up an old face. You can put on just words. You don't have to put yourself on here if you're afraid of that. Anyway, I'll stop now. Thank you.
I'm going to jump out and go into a little bit of what both you said, but yeah, it's interesting because I right now am going through something that's very personal and very, you know, close and dear with my mom passing away this last month. But I've been going through all the emotions and everything, but at the same time, I've been dealing with some negative things, and it's weird how we can let the negative consume us and take us over and sometimes it takes literally just flipping the switch of reframing our thoughts of the words even that we use into something positive to help us move forward. And Samantha helped me with something on that just this morning, a little before we got started. You know, and that's part of something I've been dealing with just right lately is I've been in that kind of more negative, low energy, low vibe type thing. And I do want to get out of it, but at the same point, I want to give importance to some of those feelings because I think they're feelings I need to deal with and work through, but I don't want them to be the overlying or something that carries on forever either. And I think there's a point to where slowly but surely reframing it and re-looking at it. Plus, from a prior book we looked at about, you know, stuff dealing with past lives and having contracts before we come down here to, you know, take on certain things and stuff like that. You know, I'm still going through some of those and, you know, looking at that because of my beliefs and how I look at things. But I'm also trying to open up and look at some of those things as being aspects of what's playing out in my life and how best to move forward and to move forward in the ways that are going to be best for me to be able to move forward. It's, you know, that's part of what this group does for me. It helps me in those areas. And I too, I'm like, you know, Karen, you know, I wish we could get more people on here. I wish we could have more people with their experiences and what they've gone through, or what they've learned, or if they're just even learning and starting now, you know, different viewpoints and different feelings and different aspects are great because I think they can help each and every one of us through whatever we're going through, because everybody's at different levels and different planes and different aspects. And, you know, I usually gain something out of this almost every week, you know, in going through what we go through and stuff. And, you know, sometimes it helps me and sometimes it points things out to me, and other times it validates what I'm going through too. So I think, you know, in going through all the books we've gone through over the years and the different things, you know, it's helped me grow, but at the same point, it's helped me understand myself a little bit more too. And I think that's what we're all trying to figure out on this plane is how we all interact, and that, yes, we are interconnected, and, you know, sometimes what somebody else does affect us, but at some point, it's how, you know, I've always heard and always been told, and sometimes I think my mom has told me over the years, you know, it's not so much, and even in here in the group, you know, it's not so much how what we're told or what we're going through, it's how we respond and how we react to it. And that can make all the difference in the world. And sometimes we can let ourselves stay in that lower negative rather than pushing ourselves back into that positive and more higher energy, higher vibe, and that aura and that energy around us will attract those same other people around us with those similar like energies. And I think that's something, you know, I'm still learning, grasping and getting a better hold of. So I too appreciate this group so much.
Morning, Lori. Glad to have you on today.
I think
Sorry. Go ahead, Catherine.
that's okay. Hey, Lori. I think that, you know, we can get trapped into these vibrations and not even recognize it, because I know a couple of times this week, I was having a negative reaction to something that I actually wanted, if that makes any sense. Like, it didn't make any sense to me, which has made it a very confusing week, because you think, well, you know, you only react negatively to things that you don't want, but that's not true. Like, there were occasions this week where I was caught in the negative and was having a negative reaction even to things that I wanted. So, you know, thankfully, because of this group and lots of self-study and, you know, thank God to all the authors out there that actually write about all this craziness. Thankfully, I was able to recognize that and pull myself out of it before it had long-standing effects. And in particular, you know, with relationships with other people, and was able to, you know, stop the argument, like you were talking about, Samantha. When you stop the resistance to the other person's thing, then the argument completely fades away. It just disappears, and all the heaviness disappears. And that's actually one of the reasons I don't remember, I should have had it pulled up, but I posted something this week about emotions are like the difference between what you're feeling in that moment and what God or source thinks about that same thing in that exact moment. And the difference between those two things, your thoughts about it and God's thoughts about it, are what result in the emotion. And that saying kind of reminded me of being like Byron Katie's, when she says, if you're feeling a certain emotion, you know, is it true? Is what you're thinking about true? And that's what that saying reminded me of. Is it true? Because more than likely, whatever you're having the emotion about isn't true to begin with. It's just like something you're telling yourself or something that you believe, but it's not necessarily truth. You know, it's not God's truth about the situation anyway. And then we can kind of, since we know that we're all part of each other because we're all energy, you know, then we can expand that to, you know, is it our smaller version versus our larger version? And I think that's kind of what it points to. And that is a matter of focus. And that was my lesson for the week, was where's my focus? Because I find that I get extremely micro focused on things. Like I can be a very detail oriented person. And so I can get super micro focused on something. And I kind of, you know, the old saying, you're so close to the forest, you can't see the forest for the trees. Well, that's how I get micro focused on something. And then my bigger self, my God self, kind of loses track of all this other stuff. So one of the, I don't know if everybody experiences the same thing, but in my life, every day I'm given messages, things are put in front of me at an email that maybe I've never opened an email from these people, but for some reason that email's really standing out to me. So I open that email and it has a special message for me that day. Things like that are literally, it's almost like literally word for word, exactly what I need to hear in that situation in that day. It's so very, very strange. It blows my mind sometimes. But something that was put in my path this week was, just a practice of, because like you said, Dan, you don't want to ignore those feelings and emotions. You have to give them their own voice. They're there for a reason. So yeah, it might be the difference between your smaller self and your bigger self, or your micro focus and your macro focus, but it's there for a reason. And so we need to acknowledge those things. So what this practice was saying is, if you're feeling sad, or whatever emotion, think about a time when you were not that emotion, and or were not feeling that emotion. And really, because our brains don't really know the difference between imagination and reality, really go into that. We'll just use sad and happy for example. So think of a time when you were really, really happy, and go into that happy and feel that happy and experience that happy and relish that happy. And then go back to your sad and feel that sad and talk to that sad, and acknowledge that sad and comfort that sad, and all the things that you need done for that sad. And the sad is the micro focus. And then go reach yourself back out to that happy again and feel that happy. And then micro focus back in on that sad, and just keep bouncing back and forth. And pretty soon you get some equilibrium there, and you realize that this sad is simply just like the happy was there, and the happy has been there many, many times, of course. The sad is there, and it's just a wave. You just have to ride that wave and get through that. Don't stuff it or bury it, because then you wind up, your body gets sick. Because God is always going to tell us in one way or another how we're mishandling our minds, because we're God's in training. So we can't really just be left to our own here, because we don't do a very good job of it, most of us. So we constantly get reminders, or I hate to call it consequences, but like your body will get ill, physically ill, if you continue to stuff these emotions. So we get these, we might look at it as a bad thing, but it's really God helping us along, saying, hey, pay attention to what you're thinking here. And don't be so, what I'm going to term micro focused, on this one moment in time, when it really is a moment in eternity. Go ahead and reach past that happy moment, to reach out to really expand to the edges of the universe and beyond, and understand how immense you are. And then all of those little things that we get so in a huff over just kind of don't mean so much. And it's not that they aren't important, but it's just a reminder to ourselves that this too shall pass. I know that's a very, that this term is used a lot, but it's true. This too shall pass. This is a wave, and it's absolutely normal. Everybody in the world feels, sad or happy or scared or all of these things, and we're going to get through it.
If I may share something else that's occurred to me, I was wearing something black yesterday, and it used to be that I would ponder things at length when I was in the shower, and now I find that I ponder things at length sitting on the throne. I just kind of go into this other state of mind where I'm really not cognizant of where I'm at and what I'm doing, so much as I'm just really trying to sort things out in my mind. And I looked down and I had a curled hair on my dress, and I picked it up. By the way, I like to go in there kind of in the dark if I can. Even though I'm 12 stories up, I I can easily get paranoid that somebody else besides me has a pair of binoculars, and somehow that. So anyway, I was basically in the dark with some light trailing in from an open door, and I held my this hair up like this, and I envisioned it dropping. Now, I couldn't see the hair that well, but as I thought about that and I extended my fingers, it seemed like it was actually on the tip of your finger. You know how a lot of times the hair won't fall off, it'll just stay right there. And it was flowing out. And then I noticed that I had similar kinds of little trails out from the other fingers. And I thought back to one of my favorite things from the Celestine Prophecy, and that was understanding that there's energy between leaves that some people can see. And I felt like I was seeing energy, and it was flowing from my fingertips out anywhere that I would direct it. And Catherine, when you said that you were caught in vibrations, it made me think about that we do get caught in vibrations. I've finally gotten addicted to watching something that's a TV continuum kind of thing. And I think about this one character who basically doesn't show emotion, hardly ever. And yet I can think about, something that's happened that causes him to raise his eyebrows and even open his mouth sometimes, like, ooh, I can't believe that happened. And so all of these thoughts came together when you were talking about being caught in vibrations. Think about how we have our own vibrations. I'm alone a lot of my day and all my night. And so, I can still envision that I have contact with energy, with things around me. But think about, as people enter our day and their energy, connects with us. I guess I've lost maybe what I'm trying to say here, except that we, like you were saying, Catherine, we are gods in training. We're learning how to use our minds, and what a tremendous tool our minds are, and our emotions, and our energy, and our vibrations. And anyway, I appreciate that I have so much to go away from this Saturday morning mastermind nearly every week with all of you contributing. Thank you so much for that.
I'm going to jump out again in a second and go to something that Catherine was saying, and I think it kind of goes into a little bit what you were talking about, Karen. I love the fact that you were talking about going between the positive and the negative, the good happy feelings and the sad happy feelings. I've never really ever looked at that way, but when you were saying it, I have found myself doing that at times, not realizing I was doing that. And it seems like as I look back and think about it, after I've done that a little bit, I seem to feel I don't know the word I want to use. I don't want to say necessarily relaxed or but I feel a little more balanced, I guess you could say. That it brings me back to maybe a spot where I can kind of move forward, I guess, so to speak, and say, okay, I'm here now, let me move forward now because I'm kind of back at even keel. I've never really thought of it that way, realized it that way. But that I think also goes into what Karen was saying about how other people and how being aware of our vibrations and our energy and where we're at. Sometimes if we're a negative, then we're attracting negative. But if we can kind of turn around and change it to positive, then we can have a positive effect on other people who might be. So it's interesting to think about that more and more and realize that I think I do some of these things and not have really realized it because but I do tend to squash things and push things down a little bit too, and kind of force myself into a place of where I'll operate so I can get on and move on with other people and do things. But I still haven't really resolved what I'm dealing with too sometimes. And I don't think that helps me either sometimes. And I think that's where my negative kind of goes out and draws more negative in. And I don't want to do that. And that's something I want to and look at trying to understand better and maybe work better and use the tools like you were talking about, going to the happy, then the sad, happy and the sad, and giving each one their equal measure, but then letting it bring me back to that equal place.
Everybody shared so many good things today, and I'm just so happy that everybody gets value out of this. It has really amazed me over the years how much we have each helped each other, and I just love that. So I wanted to share that. Well, we're at the top of the hour, guys. Anyone want to share any final thoughts before we wrap up for today? I feel like we had a short day because we started a little bit late, but is what it is. No. Okay. Well, I guess that's it for today. That's all good. Thanks again, everybody, oh, Jason, did you want to jump out? I saw you unmute there for a sec. Oh, there you go.
Hey, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you, just can't see you.
Hey, yeah, I've been listening in the background. It's so it's so wonderful to hear how everyone is finding um, useful things in the readings, and how it's really helping everyone to see things in a different perspective, as well as find their power. I love what everyone's saying, and I love what Catherine was saying about about focus, and um, her points about being happy and sad and working through things. And I'm with you, Dan. What you're going through is very. I mean, I can only imagine. Um, and I hope that you know, I hope that things are made easier and easier for you to understand and come get to that equilibrium. I also love what Karen was saying um, about her recent experiences, and utilizing her self-talk and changing that, and being a creator. And I loved how you stepped in your power and inviting people on the webinar. That's great. We you know we always I always benefit from different perspectives, and look forward to meeting all of our all of our new members who have come on. I know it can be a scary thing to want to hop out and get on line, and but you don't have to show your face sometimes. Sometimes you can just listen in, but it really helps everyone, and it always seems to help me more if I actually do hop out. So I early on I couldn't even hear you guys. I was having trouble with my phone, but I was able to unmute, and I would just want to come out and say thank you so much, and thank you, Samantha, for hosting these each weekend and keeping this going. Really means a lot to many of us, and I really appreciate everything you all say, and the encouragement or the guidance that you all help with me, and I'm sure it's helping others. I just want to say, like with what Karen was saying about the energies, excuse me, um, there, we have our thoughts, we have different things in our environment as well, that that all each carry different energies, and having this awareness that we're all um, guiding ourselves through, I think helps us to um, navigate those energies and our experiences better. And if we are gods in training, and we're creating this ourselves, and we're able to see these things this way, then learning how to connect and also disconnect from those energies when we need to, and understanding that there are different ways of looking at things. I think that, especially with being able to disconnect and not be affected by certain energies, we're able to free ourselves from those distractions, and move into a better space and step into our power and be even better creators in this world. So, thank you so much, you guys. Have a wonderful afternoon. Love you all. Take care. Bye-bye.
Love you too, Jason, and I love all of you. I just appreciate you all so very much. All right, well, I guess that's it for today. Everybody have an awesome, amazing week, And if you'd like to join us and participate in all of this love, we would love to have you. And all you have to do is just get over to our Facebook group, and you can do that by, there's a link under the video if you're watching this on YouTube. If you're on Facebook, all you have to do is just look, there's a pinned post at the top of the group where it has a link to join us, as well as the link to all of our replays for all the different books that we've studied over the years. And you can find all of those on YouTube. But if you search for Mindset Mastery Collective, you'll find us. If you put that in the Google search, or you put that in a YouTube search, you put it in Facebook search, you'll find us, Mindset Mastery Collective. Or just go to mindsetmasterycollective.com, and that will take you to our website where you can find a link to get into our group, and you can also find all of our replays on there. So with that, guys, have a great, awesome, amazing week, and we will see you next time on the Saturday Morning Mastermind. Bye for now.